you so much for joining us. Don't want to be
Thank you for having me.
Maybe I should call you Mr. Weinstein, but
No, Doug is good.
You're one of the attorneys who brought the successful recusal motion. So where were you when this came down? How did you find out?
I was in municipal court in Union City helping a couple of clients there when I found out about it. So I had to try to not be distracted when the order came in.
Oh, yeah. So were you actually like in at the hearing? You got an email and had to kind of put it aside?
Right. I got an email and then we had to download it. So
right.
I read the first page. I read the last page.
Yeah, and it's really quite an interesting order because it wasn't. It seemed like she found her own argument to recuse him over the comments that he made on July 1st. Also, his written order to you, but really the comments that he made on July 1st sounds like it really drove it. Were you surprised by her reasoning on that?
To some degree, I expected. Ideally, judges like to make rulings on the narrowest grounds that they can without getting into things they don't need to get into. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Without getting into things they don't need to get into. And so I thought she would probably find a narrow way to rule for us. I believe she would rule for us. So I wasn't sure if it was going to be the fact that we weren't provided notice or perhaps that the ex parte was not an emergency that didn't qualify for an ex parte. There were a number of bases. And I know if you go back and I don't think she saw this. I don't remember I don't even know if she had this. But if you looked at my petition to the Georgia Supreme Court, I do get into the judge's ruling and denying my motion, the order he issued on June the 14th, where I argued to the Georgia Supreme Court that the judge went beyond where he should have gone. And he started getting into the merits of the case and whether what he did was right. And he started arguing all these issues. And to the Supreme Court, I argued that. Now, that was not in that initial motion that Judge Krause had given to her by Judge Glanville.
Was the emergency petition attached to it as an exhibit at all? Or
no, because the motion that I filed with Judge Glanville was filed on June the 12th. The emergency petition to the Georgia Supreme Court wasn't until the 14th. And then I believe to Fulton was on the 28th. And I think when Judge Glanville handed off that recusal motion, it was just the original motion of the 12th. Now, I'm pretty sure, and it was so lengthy, I'm pretty sure Brian Steele's supplemental that he filed with Judge Krause probably may have included some of that in it. I'm not sure. Yeah. But, I may not agree with everything that's in her ruling, but she got to the right place, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, it's a huge, huge win for you overall. But then there's the line in there that just says, she's not quite like there's nothing wrong with the ex parte, but she couches it a little bit, but not much. And then she also uses the word hyperbole in describing Steele's motion. But in the end, she gets the result that you wanted. And I almost think that, at least as somebody who follows, judge politics and everything, that this is bad for him. And to have it, and just the ouch factor of having him be recused, not because of the meeting, but because of what he did after the meeting, seems like a particularly bad blow to him. But as advocates, you're just looking at the end outcome, right? What you wanted.
To some degree, but also, it is not my goal to sully or dirty Judge Glanville. I think he's a good judge. I'm not sure exactly what happened here, but I think he's a good judge, and I don't want to dirty him up. So the fact that she could find a narrow way to recuse him, I'm okay with that. People make mistakes. I think he just made a mistake here. Now I think I think he made multiple mistakes, more than just the ones that Judge Krause found. But I would expect, given his years and years of excellent reputation that he's built over decades, I would hope that one ruling on a recusal would slide off his back. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I would hope. I would hope he wouldn't take it to heart. And I would hope that people would not let a single ruling finding that Judge Glanville, there was an appearance of impropriety, or at least an appearance of impropriety, I would hope that that would not let people color this man's entire career, because that wouldn't be right.
Yeah, I mean, he's done some great things in his career, and for people to be, there's kind of some people who will compare him to Judge Peterson, the probate judge who was just removed. I'm like, oh no, he's head and shoulders above her in all regards, and he's done a lot of good things in his career. And I've always said it seems like the inherent problem with this case is that it's way too long, and that what is always kind of attracted me to trials is how human everything is. You get to see everybody in their human form, and even the best lawyers, there's no way they're just going to be 100% flawless all the time. So it kind of teaches you how to look at the big picture, but you'll see like human flaws in there. But to have a trial that's just been going on for this long, it's like it just frays your nerves and personality. And it seemed like he fell victim to that, his own victim of his own temper and hot-headedness at times, it seems like. I mean,
I don't want to characterize him as hot-headed, because we've been in there for 18 months. I mean, every day he's had plenty of opportunities to blow his stack on a daily basis. I would argue not necessarily at us, but and he's tempered those. And so, yes, I mean, anyone's nerves fray when you're in there day after day after day. So at times they have, but that could be said for any of us, perhaps.
Yeah. So I know you don't like to talk about next steps, but are you going to call for a mistrial? I mean, it seems bizarre.
Yeah, I'm going to call for a mistrial.
The idea that the trial would just continue. I'm like, how could that possibly? I mean, it seems like any judge would be like, no, we're not just going to bring the jurors back and continue testimony.
I mean, I've been working on a motion for mistrial, certainly the research aspect of it, for a while, because again, we're trying to prepare for whatever eventuality happened. We'll at some point soon be preparing finishing a motion for a mistrial. And you may see multiple motions for mistrials. I can't forecast what the other defense attorneys are going to do, but you may see multiple motions for mistrial. You can ask Max tomorrow if he's going to be filing a motion for mistrial.
What about a motion for bail? I mean, it seems that's
absolutely.
And would those be filed at the same time? Would you try to?
My don't hold me to this, but my plan is to file two motions: a motion for a mistrial and a motion for bail. There's so many grounds for a mistrial at this point. The easiest one, if you want to give Judge Ingram a simple way to declare a mistrial, is the fact that Georgia law requires this case to be unwound back to June the 12th, which means the jury has heard testimony from Mr. Copeland for days after that. How do you unwind that? How do you unring that bell? How do you take their notes away from them that they've taken? How do you manage that?
If there was a mistrial and you're with the new judge, how quickly would you all be prepared for a new trial? I know you're hoping you would hope and move to just get the indictment thrown out, but could a new trial start soon? Or I mean, it seems
to the extent that we file a motion for a mistrial, it'll be because we were goaded into it by the prosecutor's actions. She put the judge the prosecutors put the judge in that position. They had that ex parte meeting that was totally inappropriate, violated multiple. I understand what Judge Krause said, but I don't have to agree with everything in her order. Obviously, I agree with the conclusion, but if we file that motion for mistrial, it'll be because we were goaded into it by the state. And having been goaded into it, I believe double jeopardy should attach, and there shouldn't be another trial.
Interesting. Well, I did see it got assigned to a judge today. What's the thinking that is going to be the judge? Will we have to see if she recuses over the next couple of days, or?
I don't know if she really has a basis to recuse.
Yeah.
I have no issue with another Fulton County judge hearing this case. We will take whatever judge is assigned to it. If they're an unbiased judge, I expect a just outcome for Mr. Kendrick. So I'm not going to seek recusal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, gosh, y'all have to be celebrating now. How do you get the word to your client like this? How do the defendants find out?
I spoke to my client's mother. Well, actually, I was in court, so I texted her as soon as I found out, and then spoke to her after court. A lot of people may know Miss Tasha because she's in the courtroom pretty much every day,
Okay.
right up there with Miss Sylvia. And I think Miss Tasha knows everyone in the courthouse, but I let her know what happened. I'm sure she passed that on. And I'm going to go out along with Jay Apt. The two of us are going to go see Mr. Kendrick tomorrow, so we can personally relay the good news to him and answer any other questions that he may have, and try to keep him informed. We just couldn't do it today because it came so late in the day, and we had some other issues we had to deal with that aren't related to YSL.
Yeah, yeah. Well, is there any prediction on when you might be back before a judge in this case? I mean, it seems like time is of the essence. I did see somebody in the chat say that the state have they filed anything? I saw someone saying that they're moving to restart the trial like next week or something. But
You know, I haven't seen, hold on just a second to update my email. I haven't seen any motions from the state seeking to, immediately call the jury back and continue. They may have indicate, they have limitations we don't have on speaking to the press. So I haven't seen anything from the state. If Miss Sylvia has found something out, it's not something that I'm aware of about them wanting to restart this.
okay, okay.
I mean, we're all interested in expediting this and reaching a resolution.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, it seems like you have a lot more favorable or a lot of momentum in terms of what you can do, and you have a lot of requests and moves you can make outside of just, well, let's start another trial. I mean, that's the fallback option. But like you said, you're hoping you can get double jeopardy to attach here.
There's so many issues here to deal with. I mean, look, you've been an independent observer of this trial. You tell me, if you want to, how you think this case has been going.
Oh yeah, it's
Because
just
I feel
crazy.
like
Yeah.
no. As far as, do you think this case has been going in favor of the defense or in favor of the prosecution over the last 6 months?
I think as it stands now, you could definitely get an acquittal on the RICO charge and the murder charge too. I'm like, this can't be all they have about the Donovan Thomas.
Oh, it's all they have.
You can't convict people like beyond a reasonable doubt for first degree murder on that. I've always thought that, like, because I need to actually look at the whole indictment and see what they're charged with. Because I mean, Thug is charged with some kind of minuscule stuff, right? Like drug possession or something like that. Because I've always said that it's a possibility that they'll get convicted of something, but obviously the big charge is the RICO conspiracy charge, and that's the one that carries the big penalty. And with them being in custody for so long, if they get any convictions on like just drug possession, it's not really going to matter. They'll just get released. But it's just such a crazy case. And it seems to me that in terms of the size and from a criminal law standpoint in Georgia, if another attorney or another judge gets this case and looks at it and says what everyone says when they see this case, like how can they do a trial that's 2 years? How can it be that big? Do they have any option? Because Glanville has kind of thrown up his hands and just said, it's the state's case. These are the witnesses they want to bring. I mean, outside of just quashing subpoenas that are frivolous or harassing, what can a judge do to limit the state's case?
That's a great question. And I provided Judge Glanville, if you look back at my motion in March to limit the state's witnesses, there's plenty of case law that the judge can put a timer on the state. The judge can limit the number of witnesses. Lots of case law on that. So a new judge could easily step in if this case were to continue, and I don't think it could. I think justice demands a mistrial, unfortunately, in a way, because again, I think we're winning. I don't think, as you said, I don't think any jury right now, even without us presenting any case at all, a jury could find RICO violations. A jury could find murder. Now they're in the middle of their murder case, but I don't think it gets any better for them.
No, and it's confusing. I mean, it's kind of just hard to follow. Like, what is their theory?
So there's a part of me for sure that says, I don't know if I want to restart this case from scratch, having allowed the prosecution 6 months to learn and give them a do-over.
No kidding.
That's not just.
Yeah.
That's not the way this is supposed to work. So them forcing us into asking for a mistrial and then getting to do, no, that's why you have the law the way you do on double jeopardy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess a lot rides on who the judge is that gets assigned and just what their politics are. Obviously, one concern I have is the streaming, because that's, I mean, one reason to like Judge Glanville is he seemed very pro stream. I didn't think there was ever a chance he would turn off the live stream. And it sounds like, talking to Joseph at Atlanta Journal-Constitution earlier, it's judge's discretion. So there could be a judge that just says, hey, I don't know. I mean, hopefully they see the precedent and all the people who are interested in this and know that they just can't do that. But I'm concerned that, that maybe the proceedings aren't going to be streamed all the time anymore.
And now, I'm not a media lawyer, but I think there's a clear, I would say, bias. I think Georgia law is in favor of streaming trials. The judge does have a lot of discretion. There's no doubt about that. So y'all have great media lawyers that you bring to court. So I'm hoping they could make the arguments to keep this streaming. I think it's really important for a number of reasons. For the sake of having a public trial, you see Bruce Harvey and I frequently will object when they turn the cameras off for certain witnesses. Because I believe Judge Glanville's not even following his own order on that, where the prosecution is supposed to show basically a threat or danger in videoing of certain witness. It's gotten to the point where if the prosecution wants a witness not to be shown, the witness is not shown. But anyway, for fairness to our clients, for educational purposes, there's so many reasons that court cases should be streamed.
Yeah, it's definitely something we don't see a lot of in California, for sure. But so how soon can we expect more filings? I mean, I don't want to
days from us. We're days away from filing motions for mistrial. Certainly by the end of the week, if not earlier.
Have there been any discussions with prosecutors? Are there any? I mean, at least you're supposed to. In some cases I cover, they're supposed to meet and confer before they do anything. Do you guys meet and confer with DA Love? In
civil, there's meet and confer requirements, but I don't see that in Georgia criminal.
Okay.
So we have not met and conferred. I've not spoken to our colleagues on the stateside lately. I don't know what their plan is.
Yeah.
I think they certainly lost a very good friend in Judge Glanville.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has got to be kind of a day of reckoning. But I mean, politically, is there any chance of them just dropping this on their own without being forced to by the court?
Oh, please don't make me crawl into their headspace. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's their call. I mean, I don't think their case is very good. Do they want to retry this? Do they want to indict it in a different way? I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. That's something that's hard for me to predict. Like when we filed the motion to recuse, we had plans for all kinds of different outcomes, but I can't really plan based on trying to guess what the state may do if there's a mistrial. Yeah. I'm going to assume they're going to oppose a mistrial. I don't really know.
Yeah. So somebody asked if they restart the case with the prosecutors change. I mean, that's still, I wouldn't think so, but is that a request that you could make?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
To recuse the prosecutors, because I don't think if the case restarts that the prosecutors wouldn't change, but Brian Steele has raised that in the recusal motions against.
Yeah, and I'm not going to speak to what Brian Steele has raised. He certainly, if you saw his latest witness list, I believe it was like number 8. He added Chief Judge Glanville, ADA Love, ADA Hilton. They're now on his witness list. So then the question becomes, well, since they're witnesses, can they also be prosecutors? I don't believe so.
Yeah. And especially now with the recusal of the judge, it seems like the idea of them actually being called as witnesses seems a lot more viable. And if there is a mistrial, I mean,
Yeah.
but also,
and we need them as witnesses. We need them as witnesses to testify as to what happened in that ex parte hearing that ex parte meeting that took place.
yeah,
And the coercion that happened with Mr. Copeland there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, because by my accounts, it's always the second trial. There's no mention of the first trial, and there can be a mistrial if there is a mention of the first trial. But would that just be more of an argument that in favor of double jeopardy, about why there shouldn't be a second trial, about how this has become inherently part of the case, that it just sours the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can pile that on the list of reasons that there should be double jeopardy attached to any mistrial here.
Yeah. Well, so a motion for mistrial, a motion for bail. I mean, we can expect those both within the week. It sounds like definitely the motion for mistrial.
Yeah, that's what I would expect based on. I mean, things can come up, but I really want to get a good motion in. I really want it to be polished and effective. So I'll take whatever time is needed, but my goal is to get it filed this week. So good. Let's get it in.
Yeah.
And then the state can respond.
Yes. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on that and see what happens. What else is going on that we should know about? Is there anything we haven't asked about, or what are you guys thinking about in terms of this? I mean,
I guess, I mean, this is the focus of everything right now. Preparation, by the way, hasn't stopped. I mean, witnesses are continued to be interviewed. So we haven't been not working on YSL the past few weeks or since July 1st. We've continued to work on that. So that's all kind of behind the scenes stuff that's still churning away.
Yeah. Well, what else should we? What else didn't I ask about? It seems like it's just kind of a question of what is this next judge going to do, right? I mean,
it is, and we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. She has a good reputation. I think she'll do a fine job, and I look forward to working with her or presenting our case in front of her.
Do you have any other cases assigned to Judge Glanville? I mean, he's not actually leaving the bench or going away, so it might make it a little awkward to go before him after this, right?
It could be, but he's a good man. He's a professional. I don't expect him to hold this against us. I mean, you saw that even after I filed the motion, not that day, of course, he was a little upset that day, but after the 12th, after filing a motion asking him to recuse, his behavior toward me in the courtroom didn't change. He remained courteous, professional, affable. He continued to have comfort breaks to allow me to use the restroom. So that didn't change. So I think that if I have future cases in front of him, that he'll continue to treat me with respect.
Yeah. Somebody asks if there was a mistrial in it and there was just another trial, like the case doesn't go away. How different do you think the trial could look? Like, is it possible to have different rulings about lyrics in the case and that kind of thing?
We could, yeah. We could end up with different rulings. It's a whole new ball game with a new trial and a new judge. So the rulings could be different. I would expect it's based on seeing the experience in this case. I would expect a new judge to be able to seat a jury in less than a month. Because if you look at this case, our jurors came out of the initial 300 that were brought in. So I think we could seat a jury within a month. I would think that having seen how sprawling this case is, a judge might put some reasonable limits on the state's presentation of its case. So hopefully it would be streamlined. I'd like to think we could get in and out in 6 months, but I certainly don't think it's fair for Mr. Kendrick to sit in jail while we do this all over again. And it's not warranted. It really isn't warranted.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it seems like there's a lot coming down the pike. Then I'll definitely be looking for your filings. And thanks so much for joining us. I know everybody really appreciates being able to ask questions and kind of hear right from the source. So
thank you for having me on, and thanks for continuing to educate the public about this case. Okay.
Absolutely. Congratulations, because I didn't think it was going to happen. I was like, I don't think this judge is going to see this ex parte as like a reason to recuse. And she didn't. But then and I'm like, I think this and this is me saying this, definitely not you, but like, I think this is a testament to the fact that Glanville is just kind of an asshole. And the way he kind of flies off the handle on you guys, like he doesn't do that to his colleagues. I mean, somebody who liked him and was on his side in terms of the judiciary would have given him the benefit of the doubt a little bit more, it seems like. And she did in terms of that meeting, because she didn't even really address any of the concerns. But then all his comments afterward, it's just like, oh man, he screwed himself over. But
yeah, I mean, I actually don't believe Judge Glanville's an asshole. And I believe that it's just, you can't imagine the stress that he is under and that all of us are under in that courtroom day after day after day.
Yeah.
So I think he's doing the best he can, or he was doing the best he could. And for the most part, he was doing a good job. And yes, he would occasionally lose his temper. But I disagreed with you. I think I saw you saying you didn't think there'd be a recusal.
Yeah. No.
So ye of little faith.
I didn't think she would see the ex parte as a reason for recusal.
Well, in that sense, I guess you were right. Or maybe you were wrong.
Well, I was definitely wrong when I said he wouldn't be recused. But the people who said that this, he'd be recused because of the ex parte, it's like, they're probably wrong too, because she says it. I mean, I think reading that ruling, if he had just immediately sent the recusal motions to another judge, he would have been fine. Although, frankly, I just reading that and like the political implications of it, I wonder if if he hadn't done that, she would have still found a reason to recuse him, because he seems to not like him.
I would think we're back to kind of what I started with, that judges look for the narrowest basis in order to make their ruling. And that was a way for her to make the ruling while I think rightfully attempting to maintain Judge Glanville's dignity as much as possible. And so, I mean, you're right. On the basis of her ruling, if Judge Glanville would have just kicked my motion over on the 12th, as was required, and said nothing else, on the basis of her ruling, she would not have recused. But that's a different universe than we're in.
Yeah.
And maybe in that universe, she still would have recused.
Yeah.
We'll never know. And I guess I don't really care, because we got to the right outcome.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the issues here do just go back to the inherent just size of the case. And like you said, the pressure that Glanville's under, and he's trying to do the best he can, and he seems like he can be a nice guy. I saw somebody in the chat say he should stick to Veterans Court. I bet he's great at Veterans Court, and he seems to be good with the jurors when he's not like jailing them or making them write essays or something. But it just seems like the inherent problem is the size of the case. But there are times where he flies off the handle, and the time that sticks out to me, and when he yells at you guys, it's like all the judges do that. But when he was talking to Max Shard, and he was talking about them not being prepared, and he made a point of telling Max that he thought that it showed that he wasn't a lack of advocacy on his part. He wasn't being a good advocate for his client. And I was just like, oh, that's a low blow. Yeah. And I was like, that's something you say just to hurt someone,
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't really understand the apparent animosity that Judge Glanville at times shows to Max. Because Max Shart is a really nice guy. I mean, he really is. If you're going to yell at Suri Chada Jimenez, okay, I kind of get it. I'm just joking, because Suri's my podcast partner now, or whatever, my Spaces partner. I just don't get it. I don't get how he seemed to constantly be annoyed whenever Max would open his mouth sometimes. And then Max would occasionally get this very confused look on his face maybe that was what I don't know. It really, there's no reason to get upset with Max. Max Shard is a great guy. He's there. He's advocating for his client. And by the way, let me add this about Max Shard, since I'm talking about Max. Max works his ass off for his clients.
Yeah.
He absolutely works his ass off for his clients. And I'll just go right out and say that he's carried me a number of times in this case through his just relentless digging through discovery. I don't know Max and Brian, but particularly Max, I think, knows the discovery in this case, 8 terabytes of discovery. Max knows this discovery as well as anybody in this case.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to talking with him tomorrow. For people who are watching, we're going to have him on tomorrow at 11 to, kind of talk about his career and the case and everything. So.
And you tell Max that I said nice things about him, so he needs to say nice things about me as well.
I will. Somebody was asking in the chat if you guys are all going to work together after the case. But I mean, just being Georgia defense lawyers, I mean, did you all know each other before this, and just from being around the courthouse?
Yeah, you kind of. Some of us knew each other, bumping into each other at calendar calls. I think some folks were occasionally on cases with others. We'll see each other around, but when this case does end, there'll be a part of me that kind of. I don't know, feels like the last episode, I'm dating myself now, but like the last episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show or the last episode of Cheers. I mean, I'm going to miss these guys. It'll be like leaving a job and coworkers that you've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And that part will make me a little bit sad.
Yeah. The trial people become your family after a while you go there, especially, gosh, one that's just been going on for this long, for sure. But
yeah. And by the way, that goes to some of the defendants and the deputies as well.
Yeah.
You can't help but develop some forms of relationship with everybody that you're around.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll be able to get, over to Atlanta with it being streamed. There was kind of never really a need. And I always thought if it ever got to a verdict, maybe I'll eventually, be able to go over there and be there for that. But, who knows? So one of these days I'll have to get over to Atlanta and say hi.
Please do come visit. Maybe not in August or July.
Yeah. Especially never being to the South, not used to the humidity. So.
Okay. Oh, and I'm going to leave, but before I leave, I have to say this. Thanks to everybody out there that's been supporting us, both the lay people and all the attorneys across the nation who probably, I don't know if they're watching or not, but who reached out to us after they found out about the ex parte hearing and offered their services, offered to do research. And in fact, some of them did do some research for me. We're spread pretty thin. It's hard to do all this. And so the support and the help from everybody has been, we really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
And our clients do as well.
That's awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's late in Atlanta, so thank you so much. And let's talk again soon when there's some developments.
Great, Meghann. Thank you.
Waiting for it. So great. Okay. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.